Evening, everyone. Hi. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Good evening.
Okay. I'm Kamala Gunwardena, professionally a highway consultant. I'm a fellow representative of the Iesl for this session, and I'm taking part of civil engineering sectional committee as well. I'm much delighted and so honored to introduce this eminent personality who has given a prominent startup for a series of valuable presentations, starting now with this topic, an overview of the history of civil engineering in Sri Lanka. It's pure dedication and undertaking. The leadership as the chairperson of the Iesl Civil Engineering Sectional Committee, sharing his thorough knowledge with all of us is much appreciated. He's a well-known personality who needs no introduction. I do this as a formality, but with great respect. He's none other than Professor Cesc, Senior Professor of Civil Engineering at the University of Moratuwa. We are so fortunate that he's the chairman of the Civil Engineering Sectional Committee for this session, and we are much delighted and expecting much more deliverables throughout the session as the chairman Civil Engineering Sectional Committee. Of course, I wish to remind you that an overview of medium-rise building designs and constructions will be commenced on 16th this month, another 2 days' time, this Thursday, and we'll be briefing at the end of this presentation today. So please wait for that. All the Zoom links for these webinars will be sent to you from the Iesl Secretariat, and you can join them sessions accordingly. Without further ado, I invite Professor Cesc to take over. Thank you, everyone. Please enjoy. Thank you.
Manjula, can you change the host to me?
Sir, already host is given to you. Co-host is given to you. You can share everything.
Yes, you can start your video because host has stopped it.
Yes, we can see the screen now.
You can see the screen?
Yes, we can see the screen.
Okay. I mean, can you see the screen now?
Yeah, we can see much better if you can zoom out the screen. Then.
Over now.
Yeah, now almost okay.
Now you can see it full. Is that right?
Yes, we can see now.
Yeah. Right. Good evening, everybody. Today I'm going to make a presentation about some historical aspects. Before we start the real exercise, there's a good reason for that. So Zika, in this year, we have dedicated for educating the engineers. So every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we are going to have many activities, and generally Tuesday is dedicated for building, to teach about building design, medium rise buildings and tall buildings. Wednesday is reserved for teaching all the other types of structures, which can consist of bridges, bridges, water tanks. Just one moment. One, two, three. Bridges, water treatment structures, space trusses, all types of structures and tunnel. And some of these lectures will be delivered by some of the professional engineers in Australia, and there could be few lectures from USA and so on. And Thursday is dedicated every Thursday, 6 o'clock onwards, for about 1.5 hours. We dedicate it for guest lectures. So they can be eminent engineers talking about various experiences they have, and it can be about smart motorways, or it could be about space structures or anything that could be of interest. We will organize one lecture every week on this. So this year we are going to have a lot of educational activities for engineers. But if you are going to have education activities, you should know why we need such educational activities. So the purpose of today's lecture is to give an overview of history of civil engineering in Sri Lanka, so that you will be inspired to learn more and more and more. So today I'm going to take about 1 hour for the lecture, and then I will we can have a discussion on various aspects. So I will first give an overview of the presentation. First, a brief introduction, then the history of the world, the Ice Age, historical background, historical developments, some civil engineering applications in Sri Lanka, and conclusions. So I'm going to talk about historical aspects and some of the new aspects as well.
Sorry to disturb you, sir. Manjula, again, voice. There are some comments that voice is bit low. I also feel that, and you are as you are joining two units. Some voice reverberation. I feel.
All right. Okay. So I'll turn on the
How we
other.
will structure engineers.
How about it now, Manjula?
Yeah, now it's much better.
Can you hear me properly?
Yes, now okay.
Now it's okay, right? So now if you look at the world, what you see is that this one, I'll view the phone fully. Now there's only one device. So if you look at the world, this is the world that we see today. Can you see the mouse pointer, Manjula?
Yes, we can see.
Yes. So this is the world we see today. But some billions of years ago, world was very different. And you can see, if you look at this particular picture, you can see this is India. And India is not where it is today. India was with Africa and Australia all together, somewhere here. And then it has drifted, and you can see how the South America drifted and broke away from Africa. And then you can see how the South American continent is drifting and Arctic, and Australia, India, and Africa. Africa is the continent that has drifted little, and so has Europe. but whereas all the other continents have drifted a lot. And that's why, you know, you get earthquake boundaries. Now here you can see there's one huge earthquake boundary. There's a plate boundary. And India has come and hit Europe, so there's an earthquake boundary. And there's another earthquake boundary somewhere here. And Australia is without earthquakes. And then Africa, there's not much problem. But Iran, Iraq, we have problems. Whereas in the Europe, no problems. So likewise, you know, so this is what happened in the world. And you might ask why it's important. In a moment, I'll show you why it's important. So basically, this is how it looked like different times. And we have come to this world, what we see today. And then you will see, where's India? India is somewhere here. And if you look at the way that is drifted, that's come and hit somewhere here. And during this journey, both Australia and India has moved across a burning patch. And because of that, all our metamorphic rock has converted to the real rock. So that's why, you know, when you excavate, or when you do piling 10 meters, 15 meters, sometimes 30 meters, we get better. But if you start drilling in Thailand, sometimes for 300 meters, you might not get better. So we are very lucky. We are having a very good foundation material. And because of that, we can reclaim the Z and build, you can have something like Port City. And then this is the location of Sri Lanka, again very important because it's on a sea route. So if we do our calculations right, we can easily get one of the best seaports at Hambantota. And if we do things right, this is one of the areas where we get a lot of wind. And if we start harnessing energy from this, and if we sell it to India, Sri Lanka can be as prosperous as it can be, because we will not have any dollar shortage. The moment we start a wind farm here and start selling electricity to India, because India is really short of electricity. So we are in a very advantageous position, but unfortunately, we are not trying to harness most of these potentials. But time has come to harness these potentials, and you would have seen one gentleman called Mr. Nimal Silva, who appears, who talks on YouTube as an expert on gas. He's a real expert on gas exploration with vast experience, and he's one of our good friends. And we were actually planning to introduce the petroleum engineering to our curriculum, because we are having gas and petroleum here. So we might be able to do gas exploration and petroleum exploration in this area, and there's a very high chance we'll get both gas and petroleum. The only problem is sea is little deep. Sea is more than 5,000 feet deep. So you need special rigs to explore, to get oil out of the seabed. So that is the only obstacle. And it's a good obstacle as well, because it was difficult. We have not harnessed it. And in future, we have the potential to get that oil out. So if you look at the location of Sri Lanka, again, with respect to the whole world, the size of the country is about 20,000 years ago has been much larger. Some of the countries, not all countries. The reason is there was something called Ice Age. During the Ice Age, most of America was covered with ice. The whole of Canada was covered with ice. And you might ask, what is the thickness of the ice cap? And I will say it's 2 to 3 kilometers. And because of that, countries like Sweden which are above this Austria and all that, you get Germany, and above Germany you get Sweden. And Sweden was covered with ice cap of 2 to 3 kilometers. And today, there's no ice in Stockholm. And when you construct buildings in Stockholm, today the elevation may be, say, 10 meters above mean sea level. Another 50 years time, you will find now it has little more. It's more than 10 meters. So those countries have been suppressed by a huge ice cap. And now those suppressed soil is expanding and all these buildings are rising. And in our part of the world, we get rise in sea level because ice cap is melting. So those days, about 20,000 years ago, again we had, if you look at this area, this is a desert area. All these white color areas are desert areas or areas with very little rainfall. And here this Sahara Desert and Saudi Arabia, we know it's a desert country. And then in China, again, we get a desert about very low rainfall. But if you look at Europe, it's all green. It's having a lot of rainfall. Now, this map is very important. I will say why it's important in a moment, because I'm going to use the other device, that is the whiteboard with another camera to explain few things about the historical development that took place about 10,000 years ago. Can you still see the screen? Because I have just changed the. So can you see this particular, the ice age, 35,000 to 15,000, Sweden covered with 2 to 3 kilometers of ice. Can you see that slide?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, you can. So this is the modern world, and you can see the world during the ice age. You can see Australia was much bigger. And you can also see Sweden was mainland. And you can see Canada was covered with ice, and Canada was much bigger. So with the melting of ice, sea level has risen by about 100 meters. And because of that reason, now you see the shape of the countries are very different. Shape of the countries are very different. And you can see some of these countries like South Korea would have been much bigger. So those days, people used to live more in the close to the equator than away from the equator. So the civilization concentrated more on the equator, close to the equator than away from the equator. So that's why you can't see any history in some of these European countries. They don't have a history. And the reason why they don't have a history is they could not live in those countries 30,000 years ago because it was all covered with ice. This is a picture of Stockholm, and here you can see it's a very nice city, and the Stockholm is full of water. It's called archipelago. It's full of small islands collected, but all these islands are rising because the ice cap is spread. So if you look at historical development, most of the time we used to have carbon zero buildings. And if you look at the carbon dioxide content, now we have reached something like 400 ppm parts per million. And when we go beyond 450, the world climate can change forever. So we should be really thankful to COVID situation, because COVID situation gave us a small breathing space for about 2 years. And many people felt we are polluting the air too much. And even about 2 months ago, the new Indian government found New Delhi is full of bad air, polluted air, and that is all man-made. So we have to see that we do something positive to bring down this carbon dioxide level. Or otherwise, if the carbon dioxide level exceeds 150 ppm, if we don't take much action, it can happen. All the ice cap can melt, and the moment that happens, we will have huge rise of sea level, and we can easily have a sea level rise of 0.5 meters, and that can be disastrous for most of the coastal areas. So that's a challenge we have. So before we move on to various construction activities we mastered and did use so well to have a carbon zero economy, I would like to show you a few things about our own history and our geographical location and what we did 10,000 years ago up to today. And also you have to be careful. We have two histories in our country. One is the history written by Britishers. They came to Sri Lanka, they learned few things on the surface, they wrote a history for us. And that is the history that has gone up to 2,500, 2,600 years ago. And that is the day that the Prince Vijay landed in Sri Lanka. And that is the day that Britishers thought we had our history. But we know we have a history way beyond that. And I'm going to talk about that history and the historical development. And also you must see that the Mahayangana Stupa was built before Prince Vijay came to Sri Lanka. So if you visit Mahayangana today, you can see a huge development, a huge temple. And I have actually contributed a lot to the development. And the last phase of the development is taking place. That is the 84 feet tall Buddha statue within the artificially created island, which is connected by a 300 feet long bridge. And I helped the chief priest with many activities by designing most of the structures there, and also getting so many other obstacles removed, and also built a bridge of 300 feet long and 11 feet wide for a mere cost of 6 million. So you can see, if you can think outside the box, you can do many things for a fraction of a cost that we include in our usual estimates. And if I ask Engineer Kamala about the cost of a bridge having a length of 300 feet, having a width of 11 feet, can you give some offhand figure for a bridge like that? Or any other engineer who can give an offhand figure? It's a ballpark figure. Or a bridge of 300 feet long, 11 feet wide, which can be used by tractors full of loads. The use can be used by 10-wheelers and so on. And you might say it should be at least 60 million rupees. But we got it done for 6 million rupees. So now we see, I'm going to change the camera to the board, and I'm going to talk a little bit about history of the world and how we fit into that history. And you have to see that the history has concentrated a lot around the Middle East and the equator. Middle East and the equator. And Middle Eastern countries are Egypt, Babylonia, Mesopotamia, and all those countries. And when we talk about 7,000, 8,000 years of history, now you know why the history concentrated around those countries, not in the England or Sweden or Finland. So, or Russia, because those countries were all covered with ice and those countries were not habitable. Whereas our part of the world was habitable. The Middle East had deserts, but at the same time, there were patches which were having much lower temperatures. The world average temperature today is, sorry, if you consider the world average temperature those days versus today, the world average temperature those days was 6 degrees low, 6 degrees low. So just imagine a maximum temperature of 27 in Kalam. That is the kind of climatic conditions we are talking. So basically, we had a completely different world, and we have a completely different trade, and Sri Lanka was in the forefront of this trade. So that's what we are going to learn today. Can see. Let's show this. We have to make it bigger. Can you see the map on the screen?
Yes, if we can just.
Yeah, so I'm going to draw a bigger map. I'm going to draw a bigger map by looking at this world map. Okay. So you can just see it, is that right? Right. So basically, Mandela, can you see if I
We can see the board still only. Yeah.
Oh, can you see that dot?
No.
Difficult. Don't worry. I'm going to draw. I'm going to draw that on the screen. So this India, this Sri Lanka. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Yes.
You can see that. Okay, that's enough. Then we have Myanmar here, and all the Thailand and Malaysia and all that, and China here. This is China. Then we have India and Arab here, Saudi Arabia, and then we have Africa coming like that. And then we have Middle East here. About 8 to 10,000 years ago, there are two countries that were making steel in the world. And those two countries are India and Sri Lanka. And from these ports, we sent all those steel to along these paths to Syria. We send those steel to Syria, and the capital of Syria is Damascus. So this steel was sold in Damascus, and that steel is called Damascus steel. And that was the best steel in the world. And India made, so they used the steel from India to make tools. They used steel from Sri Lanka to make swords, because the steel from Sri Lanka was far superior. Then if you ask, in the Egyptian civilization, how they made pyramids, how they cut all those steel, rock, the limestone and so on, then you will see they have used the tools made from the steel exported from India. So that's how. And if you go to internet and ask, what is Damascus steel? It will say Damascus steel is the steel made in Sri Lanka and India. And Sri Lanka, we use, you know the history of steel making in Sri Lanka, and you know how we made steel in Balangod area. And the very speciality of our steel is we used the carbon from Deodar tree, and also we used the firewood from Ranora tree to make this steel. And this steel is the most ductile steel ever made. And even today, nobody can make steel that is as good as that, the Damascus steel. And you can find Damascus swords in museums in most of these countries, Western countries. So we had a history. So we made steel for the rest of the world. Then I'm going to talk about more recent history. That is the time that King Parakram Babu used to cultivate the dry zone of Sri Lanka. Then you will ask, what is the difference between dry zone and wet zone of Sri Lanka? And this Sri Lanka, this is a wet zone. Historically, people lived in the dry zone. Now I can ask a question: why people lived in the dry zone? The dry zone weather is predictable, and if you look at Sri Lanka, there are 3 climate zones. One is the wet zone. Just above the wet zone, we have something called intermediate zone, and then we have the dry zone. So what is the wet zone? Wet zone gets about 2,500 millimeters of rainfall, but it rains almost all the months except February. And then intermediate zone, we get less rain, but it rains almost all over the whole year. Dry zone, we get 70% of the rainfall over 4 months. The remaining 30% over 8 months. So dry zone also we get about 1,800 millimeters of rainfall, which is a very high rainfall when you consider cold countries. But in our country, we call it dry zone. Our dry zone is full of greenery, and forests are there in dry zone. But our dry zone, the reason why we call it dry zone is we get 70% of the rainfall over 4 months starting from September, October. And by January, the rainfall is over. And we call it the Maha season. In the Maha season, we make sure we get cultivation, the crop, by mid-February. Mid-February. We get a crop by mid-February. What is the reason to get the crop by mid-February? Because we know by February, by end of January, the rain is over. February is a dry month. So if you are going to harvest, do the harvesting during a dry month so that you will not have a crop failure. So that's the reason. And February is a dry month for wet zone as well. So we all cultivate a season starting from October or September or August. So if you are doing 3.5 months rice or paddy, then you take mid-February 15th, and then you count backward. Then you know the day that you have to start the transplanting or broadcasting. So basically the day that you have to start cultivating will be decided by counting the time from mid-February. So that's the way that we do cultivation. If you are doing 4.5 months paddy, you have to start somewhere in September. If you are doing 3.5 paddy, 3.5 means November, December, you have to start beginning of November. If you are doing 4.5, you have to start beginning of October. And if you are doing 5.5 paddy, like Mavi, 6 months, then you have to do cultivation earlier. So that's how the cultivation season was selected. So people lived in these areas, and you will ask why that area? Because we have a very important river, and that is the Mahavali River going to Tripoli. Across all this, the valley, which is about 20 to 30 meters above the mean sea level. It's not at sea level. It's above 17, 18, 20, 30 meters above sea level. It's not at the sea level. So Mahavali River is at some locations 30, 40 meters above sea level. Some locations 17, 18 meters above sea level. It's not at the sea level. So that is about 50 feet above sea level. So Mahavali River used to carry a lot of water, and this area is full of trees, and then there's a very special creature lived there. That's the elephants. Elephants lived in the wet zone because they like to drink a lot of water. And people lived in the dry zone because they didn't want crop failures. And this was the way that we lived in this country until the Portuguese came, didn't change, but they made these areas a little more habitable, coastal areas, because they were interested in cinnamon. And by that time, due to various reasons, we have started abandoning the Anuradhapura, Polonnaruwa areas as well. So the people started living in the coastal areas than in the dry zone by that time. And then the people from Holland or the Dutch came. They did not change the status quo very much. Then Britishers came, and we handed over our country to them in 1815 because we were divided, and they changed everything. They converted these areas to tea plantation, coffee plantation. They killed most of the elephants, and the elephants that were not killed were driven to the dry zone. And people started living in the wet zone and started cultivating in the wet zone the crops that need a lot of water. But the dry zone was abandoned, and the reservoirs were all just left as they were. So this is the history. And what is the repercussions of all this? When you have a lot of trees in the wet zone, due to heavy rain, we did not have much water. We did not, even in a rainy season, we did not have floods. Because most of the water, 90-95% of the water due to heavy rain, all absorbed by the ground. Only 5 to 10% runoff. So we did not have severe floods as we experience today. And we did not have droughts as we experience today, because most of this water, 95% of the water that is absorbed to the ground is actually released to the river throughout the year. So the river levels are about 1 to 1.5 meters above. And one good example is, do you know in Sri Lanka, we have two locations where you get the sacred tooth relic. One is in Kandy, the other one is in the Somavati Stupa, towards Somavati. And during the times of Asian kings, this was the culture, very rich, cultivable lands, and those the Mahali River, those days, used to flow like this. You would say Polonnaruwa, this Polonnaruwa, and Somavati is somewhere here. The river has flown on this side, and today it goes on the other side. So what happened was, one of the kings cut the canal here, and then the river decided to go along that and this. When Britishers came, they cut trees, then the river level dropped, so this became dry. Today the river is here. So you will find the Mahali River is taking a different trace today than 1,000 years ago. So you might find it very strange. And today we have a bridge across Mahali River, and that is not on the real trace, but it's on the new trace. So if you look at the history, you can learn a lot. And these days we are trying to reactivate the link that is dried by having a small dam in the Mahali River and then pumping the water into the old trace as well. So that is historical development. And then what happened was, during the time of King Parakram Bahu, we are here. There was a huge drought in China. So we had enough food, so we sent rice to Myanmar or Burma, and over the land, food was sent to China. And if you'd have heard that, during the time of King Parakram Bahu, he sent a fleet of ships to Burma. The reason was, the people in Burmese people were also suffering, so they started looting. So the King Parakram Bahu got upset. He sent a fleet of ships and they conquered Burma. But after that, they said, we are not interested in capturing countries, because according to the Buddhist philosophy, we are not supposed to capture any country. So if you look at the way that Buddhist philosophy has spread in the world, none of these countries were ever tried to capture another country. China is a huge country, but they will never try to capture another country. That is historic. And then if you look at Burma, Thailand, none of these countries ever tried to capture another country. So we were very friendly with these countries, and we were friendly with this country as well. And that is the northern part of India. We were very friendly with northern part of India as well. And very special thing happened about 1,500 years before the King Parakram Bahu, and that is a prince came from this northern part of India, And some say he came here, but sometimes he actually came here. We really don't know whether he came to the eastern coast or western coast. But the Britishers say he came to western coast, but the chances are he actually came to eastern coast. Because the main harbor was Trinco, so we dealt with India from Trinco harbor. We dealt with the eastern side of India from Trinco harbor. We dealt with the western side of India from the Talaimana harbor. So if you look at the location, we dealt with western part of India from Talaimana harbor, and we dealt with the eastern part of India and the northern part of India from Trinco harbor. So we really don't care where he came. And when he came, we had a huge civilization here, and we had 3 clans, and they were called Deva, Naga, and Yaksha. And you will ask, who is Deva? Deva means farmers. Deva means farmers. And you need farmers to feed the other people. Who is Naga? They were the seamen. They were the people who went into the sea and dealt with other countries and dealt with the trade. Who is Aksha? They were the skilled workers. And they are the people who made steel, who made tools, who made possible everything, including agriculture. And they were the people who made weapons. But we did not fight with other people too much because we had a good reason not to fight. Whenever we wanted to fight, we did not fight. We used elephants to fight for us. And that's why, even today, you'll find elephants are very friendly with people. Historically, elephants are very friendly with people because they don't eat meat. So people and elephants were all happily living, and people never kept elephants in capture. Elephants were in the jungle. Whenever the people wanted, they used to get the help of elephants, because elephants can be tamed in within 1 month. So there's no point of keeping the elephants in captivity. So the elephants were in the jungle. Whenever they were needed, we used them. And you'll find that, we have huge reservoirs, and Sri Lanka is the only country where reservoirs can't be found. And the reason is, no other country people knew how to use elephants to build reservoirs. Whereas in our country, we knew how to use elephants to build reservoirs. So that's why you can see King Dasusena built a huge reservoir. Or you say another king built another reservoir, and King Masamba built so many reservoirs. And how can people build reservoirs? They can't build reservoirs. If today we can't build reservoirs ourselves, we use machinery. So the main machinery they used was elephants. So our civilization is based on what we got from nature. And it was all carbon zero machinery. Elephants are carbon zero animals, so we had carbon zero machinery. But today we have machinery full of carbon. So we use oil, petroleum, and we burn petroleum, we build structures, we build dams, and they are not carbon zero. Whereas our ancient kings knew how to build using elephants, but they were all carbon zero constructions. So if you look at what we got from India, we had our language Hela, we got Bengali from India, North India. And that part of India is today called Bangladesh. And if you go to Bangladesh, you'll find they eat rice a lot. They make curries like us, and they talk like us, and they think like us. And until recently, most of Bangladesh used to be a Buddhist country, but later with invasions, they became a Muslim country. So we had this, and we created another language. It's called Sinhala. And if you go to Bangladesh today, you can understand most of their talk. And formal language of Bangladesh is exactly same as formal Sinhala. Because what happened was, we had a big language called Hela, and then we got Bengali connected to it. 50% of Bengali is Sanskrit, and 25% of Sinhala is Sanskrit. So you can see, our formal language is exactly same as formal language of Bengali people. And you will ask how many people speak a language which is similar to Sinhala, you can proudly say more than 200 million people in the world speak a language which is very similar to Sinhala. And if you ask what is the word for tree, they say Vuksha. In formal Sinhala, we call it Vuksha. If you ask what they call for medicine, they call it Aushadha. We also call it Aushadha in formal Sinhala. Otherwise, we call it Behet. So we have so many different words. So our language is a much richer language than Bengali, the bigger language. Our script is slightly different, but our script looks nicer. Then you have to ask, what did we get from this mix? From this mix, we got very brainy people. People who have very good brains. But unfortunately, we don't know this and we don't use our brains. We like to be lazy. We like to sleep a lot. We don't like to work. We like to delegate. So, although we have good brains, we don't use it. When you don't use it, you can't make anything out of it. So basically, we have to understand we are very brainy people, but we have the best brains of the world. And there are a few other countries where you get best brains of the world. And one part is this belt, where you get Kerala and Karnataka. How do you know? How can I prove it? You know, where's the IT capital of the world? Bangalore. Where's Bangalore? Bangalore is the capital of Karnataka. If you go to Middle East, you'll find engineers. Indian engineers, from where they have come? Kerala. They're the best engineers of the world. Then there are other countries in the world, Germany. And Germans attacked UK. So people in UK are also mainly of German origin. When you consider English people, they are mainly of German origin, a mix of Welsh and Germans. And people of Germany and UK both migrated to America. They all went here. They all went here. Went to America. So Americans are also these mix of these brainy people. So that's why they lead the economics. And the same with Canada. Same with Australia. Same with New Zealand. And then there's another brainy people. There's a mix of Germans and Spanish people. And they are the French. And if you ask how to say French are so brainy, you just look at TGV, one of the fastest trains on the world. It's made by them. If you look at the historical development, Citroen cars are the first front-wheel driven cars. They were made by French. When everybody was making rear-wheel driven cars, French made front-wheel driven cars. And those front-wheel driven cars are called Citroen. So even today you can sit on cars, advanced cars manufactured. And if you look at the cars used by French politicians, they use Peugeots and Citroën. And then if you look at the main nations who are making cars, you'll find Germans make cars like Mercedes, Audi, Volkswagen, BMW, and so on. And then Japanese also make cars. So Japanese are also brainy people, but they are good in copying and improving than inventing. So you can see historically, people of different countries have acted differently. And Chinese people are good friends of ours. They helped us in big ways. And during the war, China is the only country that helped us, other than Pakistan. And you'll see that Chinese people are very good in copying and using it. They are very hardworking people, not like us. And they are also doing very well because they are hardworking. And they don't think, but they work hard. So likewise, there are brainy people in the world, and you have to take this into your memory that we are also brainy people. Some of the brainiest people in the world are from Sri Lanka, because we are a mix of two good genes. And Germans are a mix of Aryan gene and the gene from Germany. English are the mix of Welsh and Germans. Americans are a mix of everything. And these people from England migrated to Australia, so they also can do well. And then people from England migrated to New Zealand, so they also can do well. So if you look at the countries that are doing well, all these countries with mix of people are doing well, except Sri Lanka, because we are lazy. We can do well, but we don't want to do well because we are lazy. So we have to make sure you get rid of this lazy factor and wasting the time factor and do well. So that's why we organized a series of lectures every day, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, starting 6 o'clock. And if you want, you can learn. If you don't want to learn, still we'll provide you with all these lectures on our YouTube channel. Because I'm running YouTube channel, so I'll make sure that all those videos will go on our video channel so that you can download and learn. Because our idea is to make Sri Lanka one of the knowledge hubs of Asia. So now you can see, historically we have done well, but we are not doing well today because we are lazy. But if you decide we are not going to be lazy, we can do far better than what we are doing today. Now let's look at, now I'm going to change over to the presentation again. Sure. Can you see the screen now?
Yes, we can see.
So now we look at the different types of construction materials available in Sri Lanka. The best construction material available in Sri Lanka is earth. And you'll ask why. The reason is, I told you, we have drifted from somewhere in Africa towards where we are today. And during that, we have gone through burning patch. All our rock was converted to real rock. Metamorphic rock was converted to real rock. And then weathering took place over billions of years. So we have a thin soil cover, and that thin soil cover is full of gravel, sand, and silt and clay. If you look at the soil in England, it's full of clay, whereas our soil is having more silt than clay. You can know clay is much finer particle than silt. Because of that, if you want to do any kind of farming, you have to add a lot of organic substances to the soil. Otherwise, you can't grow plants on our soil. So that's why, we say, if you want to do organic farming, add fresh leaves. Don't add this, what we call compost fertilizer, which is wrong. If you want to do organic farming, you have to add fresh leaves the paddy and all kinds of things to soil. And then, so basically needs extensive organic matter for cultivation, but it's an ideal material for construction. Unfortunately, after 1977, we stopped using soil as a good construction material. We decided bricks and blocks are much better, and we stopped using soil as a main construction material. So this is how we use soil for construction. These wattle and daub, you can go for multi-story construction. You will ask how? Because we have a timber framework. If you have a timber framework, these are how Americans build. They build a timber framework and then they build the house. Then why can't we do that? But the difference between the modern wattle and daub and the early wattle and daub is we are going to treat all the timber that we use with the borax solution so that no termites will ever attack our timber. So we are going to use borax treated or boron treated timber as the framework, not just the timber from plants. So we can use wattle and daub very easily. And these days we are planning, we are having a massive project on the planning stage with all these clearances being obtained. We use 100 hotels in Eastern Province, where each hotel will have 50 to 100 rooms, 3-story buildings, and the walls will be wattle and daub, treated timber, and then the floors will be pre-stressed concrete beams supporting teak, and then ceiling will be durapanels. And we are planning to go for 3-story load-bearing construction because we want carbon zero buildings. So we want almost carbon zero buildings. The way that we are going to achieve that is we are going to use soil as the main construction material and timber as the other main construction material. And only thing that will have some carbon footprint will be the pre-stressed concrete beams. Again, the minimum amount of steel, only 5mm wires in it, about 5 mm wires, and the floors are all timber renewable materials. So we are going to do that kind of projects starting early next year. By May, we are planning to start this work, and I am planning to conduct pre-webinars for Institution of Architects, so that they will be able to find, they will be able to promote this idea with the investors. So it is a private project with government support. And you will ask why Eastern Province? Again, the predictable weather, and we are going to have another project where we are going to divert pump water from Mahagani River to a height of 32 meters, 35 meters above sea level. And then we are going to feed water from Mahagani River to a series of cascading reservoirs. So all these reservoirs will be full of water throughout the year because Mahagani River carries water to the sea throughout the year. And we are going to divert most of that water to reservoirs so that we will have reservoirs and then hotels close to the reservoirs with nice views. And then our expectation is we are going for health-based tourism, where the tourists are expected to stay long durations like 1 month or 2 months at reasonable prices. So that's why we have to keep the cost of the hotel as low as possible. All these projects are on the pipeline. So then you will ask, why are you so confident? And the reason is, for countries, history repeats every 30 years. And if you look at 1992, you see that is the year we started a huge garment factory program. Even today, that is working. And today, we have placed Sri Lanka as one of the key niche market suppliers. Not the normal market. Normal market is supplied by Bangladesh, Vietnam, all those countries. We supply the top end market. We don't supply the middle or bottom market. We are supplying only the top end market. So likewise, we are going to create another brand for Sri Lanka, and that is health towards. So then you'll ask, why wattle and dog? Yeah, we like it, look like wattle and dog, but you can see we can plaster the interior. Once you plaster the interior properly, you will find that the building, nobody can say whether it's out of brick or wattle and dog, because plaster covers it, and we make it very straight by using a very special method. And that is, we are going for something called a new innovation called double wattle dog. Double wattle dog means, you are having two skins rather than having one skin. And because of that reason, when we are placing the main posts, we place one post upright and the other post next to it upside down. So the thickness of the wall will remain the same throughout the height. Although the main post is reducing the thickness because we are using the other one upside down, you'll find that we can get vertical walls with double wattle and dog. So that is a new innovation that we have done at Moratuwa, and at the moment students are supposed to do some experiments to find the strength of these double wattle and dog walls. And then we can also use rammed earth. And these are the library at Ambepusa Army Camp, and it's a very nice building. And you can see very nice walls can be made out of cement stabilized rammed earth. And this is a house in Norachole, and this is another house with solid block in India. Then the other thing we have done is, historically, we have made very sharp tools. Because we have made very sharp tools using the best steel in the world, we were able to have very sharp carvings. So that's another specialty. And we have mastered stone and timber construction, stone columns and timber roofs. We have also mastered stone, copper, timber and copper roof construction. That is Doa Mahama. And when it comes to Sigiri rock, we have used a lot of bricks. And you'll ask, when was this built in 5th century? No, it was not built in 6th century, it was built much earlier. Some people say it can be dated back to 6,000 years from today. And that is the time that King Ravana was there, and there's a story that gives a lot of things about the activities of King Ravana. And if you want to know all these activities, you can contact a priest, Buddhist monk, who has a PhD from University of New South Wales. He's an electrical railway engineer who used to work at railways. And then he graduated from Lumumba University, Russia, a mechanical engineering degree, a mechanical engineering PhD, but he's a Buddhist monk today. And he has done meditation at most of these places associated with Ravana. And if you are interested in learning about or doing some research, I can give the contact. Then the water garden. So all these are our contributions. And then Puranarwa is the second city, not the city that we got later. It was there when during the Anuradhapura time. Anuradhapura was the capital. Puranarwa was the second city. But later Puranarwa became the main city for about 300 years. So that is all history. Then when it comes to irrigation, we never built these dams. We use elephants to build dams. And what we did was we excavated the tank and built the bund. And the height of the bund can be 50, 60, 80 meters. And you can see 2-lane highway on Kalaweva Dam. And how we did compaction was we used sheep foot roller. And our sheep foot roller was goats and cows. Then we used smooth wheel roller. Our smooth wheel roller was So elephants had huge legs, so it was the smooth wheel roller, and we achieved a compaction ratio of around 1.9, far beyond what you can achieve with sheep foot rollers. Because the reason is these animals can be used unlimited, almost unlimited. So they compacted all these dams. So that's why even today these dams are functioning very well, very old, but functioning very well. And then spillways. We never allowed dams to spill like this because we manage the reservoirs by releasing the water, and we did not have flash floods as we experience today because our wet zone was all covered with the trees, and we had much bigger tree cover. Because of that, we never had flash floods like this. So we did not want concrete for spillways. We could build spillways by using rock, the boulders. And then we had multi-purpose reservoirs. And then I'm going to talk about one of the recent reservoirs, Veeragala. Veeragala is on Manik Ganga. And Veeragala was built because we got the calculations wrong, data wrong for Lulangvera. Lulangvera is a reservoir built so big, but without water. So to divert water to Lulangvera, Veeragala was built across Manik River because Manik River was having much bigger quantity of water. And you can operate Veeragala. Veeragala is a very nice reservoir built by an engineer called Gurapala. He was the chief engineer. And after the construction of this reservoir, he became a Buddhist monk. So he worked very hard. During trying times, where LTT was attacking in the Yala jungle, they still went into Yala jungle and built this reservoir. And we don't like this kind of spilling of these reservoirs because this spilling means we are wasting a lot of water, and all this water will flood Khattaragama town. So we don't like Veeragala spilling. So the solution to that is release the water before it spills. It's the same technique that can be used for Parakrama Samudra to ensure that Somavati area is not flooded as frequently as today. We cannot prevent floods 100% because we have automatic radial gates in Nandanigala and Victoria. So because of that, we cannot prevent, especially automatic radial gates at Rantame and Nandanigala. We can't stop Mahali River flooding, but some years Mahali River doesn't flood, still you get floods at Somavati. So that can be prevented by doing state-of-the-art satellite-based weather forecasting and management, reservoir management with the latest software, artificial intelligence-based, machine learning-based software. If you go for that kind of sophistication, we can make sure no animal dies in Somavati Forest Reserve due to flooding. And in one of the floods in 2015, you won't believe 6,000 animals died. So if we can prevent this kind of flooding, it's a great achievement. And that can be done only if we go for state-of-the-art real-time controlling based on real-time climatic data. Then I told you that, this is a little bit of history of Sri Lanka. And you can see Sri Lanka is located very close to South India. So we have South Indian influence all the time. And because of the South Indian influence, people in the north were Sinhalese people, but they started speaking in Tamil and they started believing in Hindu gods. And that is not strange because even today, if you look at most of the Buddhists, they are very fond of the Hindu gods. So basically, they started speaking in Tamil. And then when the Britishers came, they saw similar people in India and Sri Lanka. So they call Indians Tamils of India, and then the people, Tamil speaking people of Sri Lanka, they call Tamils of Ceylon. And they fortunately they did not see any English speaking people in Sri Lanka. Then otherwise they would have called them English of Ceylon. They did not call them English of Ceylon because they did not see any English speaking people in Ceylon. So when they saw Tamil speaking people in Ceylon, they called them Tamils of Ceylon. And what they did was they wanted to divide and rule. So they gave the best schools to Jaffna and made them educated so that they became the judges, surveyors, engineers, doctors, and they served the whole country very well. But some greedy politicians made the division, and that led to a war, and that war ensured all these educated people leave the country, and that paved the way for those who were speaking Sinhala to take up those jobs. So today you see we have a lot of engineers, doctors, and we have a mix of both Tamils and Sinhalese. But about 40-50 years ago, it was primarily Tamils who dominated. The reason is the Tamil speaking people were given the chance, the very high opportunity to get the education, and it was all corrected only by two people. One is Sir Henry Olcott, who developed, who started a series of schools called Ananda, Dharmaraja, Dharmashoka, Mahinda, Maliyadeva, and so on. And then it was all corrected by Mr. Kannangara, the lawyer, who developed the concept of free education and also central schools. And then during the war, another correction was made, and that is, the Tamil fighting groups made sure the life is so miserable for educated people in this country, so they all left. All educated people left this country. Only a handful stayed in this country, and they are the people like us. So today we have a golden opportunity, because if you understand this, you will see there's nothing called Tamils or Sinhalese or Muslims in this country. They are all Sri Lankans, but they are all free to talk any language they want. They are free to believe in any God they want. So you can have Catholics, Anglicans, Methodists, Protestants. You can have Islam people. So whatever they are all Sri Lankans. So if we know they are all Sri Lankans, it's so easy for us to be united. And if we are united, we can start fighting with the world rather than fighting among us. So time has come for us to stop calling somebody a Muslim or a Catholic or Anglican or whatever you want. And we have to stop. We have to start considering all of us as Sri Lankans, and then start fighting with the world, not with weapons, but with knowledge. And we have to conquer the world with knowledge. And for that, we have to do research. We have to have good knowledge. And because of that reason, we are going to give all that free of charge. All that free of charge. And this is the climatic zones of Sri Lanka. And you can see Kurnagal district is in the intermediate zone, whereas all these wet zone that we used to have jungles are now full of people. And this is the map of Somavati Forest Reserve and all that. You can see it's a massive forest reserve, but it used to be one of our key cultivable lands during the ancient kings' times. And this is the eastern province, and this eastern province we are going to develop. And this is Batiklo, this is Trinco, and we are going to develop this area fully, Trinco area fully, by having this 100 hotel project. So conclusions, we have a country full of natural resources. We are very intelligent and honest, law-abiding people. We must start thinking fresh and be united. We must learn state of the art and think outside the box. And we must work with friendly countries closely. And when I say friendly countries, historically we have been very friendly with China, Vietnam, Laos, Myanmar, Thailand, and India. And Bangladesh, Pakistan, all those countries have been our very friendly countries. So we must start working closely. We should not look at them with suspicion all the time, because in this business world, we don't have enemies. We are friends only. So we should make sure we do things properly, and we don't give tenders without, we should not start projects without calling for tenders. The moment you call for tenders, always we can get the best out of any project. So we must stop handing over our assets without tendering. If you want to sell anything, sell through a tender, so that all parties will have equal access. And that way we can develop our country to a new era. And if you do that, your kids will have a good country to live as first class citizens. And whatever the language they speak or whatever the religion they believe will not matter. With that, I like to conclude the lecture. And we can have questions. I can take questions and you can ask anything you like. Manjula,
Yes, sir.
can you ask Engineer Kamala Gunawardena to be the moderator for the question time?
Yes, I think that's better.
Yeah.
Angela?
Yeah, Madam Kamala.
Yeah, I mean, shall we open it for questioning?
Yeah,
The floor is open
chat
for
box is
questioning,
open.
so you
Chat
can
box
ask
is open for all.
questions.
No such questions, no?
Shall we allow everyone?
Yeah, anybody who wants to ask questions,
I think-
please put it on the chat. I can ask.
Hello, Dr. Amma Bedir. I have one question regarding those things. We have a great history there,
Yeah.
but we know that the researchers are very minimum in that to the modern world with that particular knowledge on that the histories. Then where that particular things or anything started, or when you have some ground for that to start, or anything in the current scenarios?
What is the question? Again, can you repeat the question, please?
Yeah, actually, we have a great histories and experience that we have in the great people in the history, but we have a lust in the what do you call that researchers on those grounds.
Right.
Is there
Yeah,
opportunity
actually,
for and going on in
actually,
so whatever?
this is how you are. Yeah, this is how you are look at it. Still, we have a lot of people with experiences around us, and before they die, we have to actually start gathering information. That's why I said, you know, if you like to know about lot about the King Ravana, I can give you a contact, so that you know anybody interested can learn and then publish. Because you know there are historical locations, the tunnels, lot of places in Sri Lanka that you can visit. If you are interested, you can visit them, and then you know the recently this particular monk who has a PhD from University of New South Wales has done meditation in many places, many of these places, because he, as a layman before he became a monk, he used to go to these places and do meditation, so he knows a lot about these places. So you can actually contact him. So similarly, there are many other place people who can give you many information. So that's how I have gathered a lot of information, and I have told you many things that you would have heard before. So that is all because you know I'm interested in learning history to see how we can inspire us. The second, you can see that we waste a lot of time trying to find what others are doing. Rather than wasting our time trying to see what others are doing, we should start minding our own business and spending our time to do development for ourselves. The moment we do that, you can see we will not be lazy. And if you ask me, can you give an example? I can give my own example. I sleep only 5 hours a day. and I sleep it also in 2 slots, and the rest of the time I use my time to learn something or do something or develop, do some research or do some development. So because I'm not lazy, but at the same time I enjoy the life as much as I can, because life is short. So if you want to live a good life, always enjoy the life. But I never bother to find time to find fault with others. What I always think is, okay, people are different. And if you look at the 5 fingers in the hand, they are not equal. They are different lengths. Likewise, in our society, we get different people. So whatever they do is not important to us. So my philosophy is, what is important to me is my character, not my reputation. My reputation is what you think about me, and what you think about me is your problem, not my problem. But if I am a bad person, if I am doing wrong things, if I am trying to cut the throat of somebody else, if I am going to see the downturn of others, then it's bad for me. So I will never do that. So that's how. So likewise, you have to develop your character to the level that you will not be an obstruction to the progress of others. And the moment you do that, you find your mind works very well, and you can do a lot of research on many things. And now I can disclose this. We are planning to construct a 180-story building in Sri Lanka. And you will ask why. The top 50 floors of that building will be a hotel. And you will ask why. The reason is, we are going to bring a lot of tourists to stay in that building, so that they can go back to their countries and say, I have stayed in a building, I have stayed in a 160th floor of a. And you will ask, why 180 floors? Burj Dubai has the highest floor at 160 floors. So we are going to have a building taller than that. And you will ask how we are going to design, and we are already designed. Design is complete, and we have found a way where the wind can be conquered. So all that will be published in due course. And you will ask, who is doing the design? The design will be done by Dr. Ramika Maharaj of Robert Bird Associates of Brisbane, Australia. He is one of our products, and I have taught him. Now he is practicing in Brisbane, and he generally designs the buildings having more than 100 floors. And he has designed the tallest building in Malaysia, 120-story building. And if you have been following the Society of Structural Engineers course, he has been one of the resource persons. The Society of Structural Engineers course on tall buildings, he has been one of the resource persons. And he will be one of the resource persons for our tall building course, which we offer free of charge. So he will come and deliver some lectures on axial loading of columns as well. So likewise, we have organized everything for you, and it's up to you to get the maximum out of all these lectures. And once you get knowledge, what he says, don't confine yourself to Sri Lanka. Go out, go all out and conquer the world. And also think positive about big projects, mega projects like Port City, which is going to be there with us 40 years more. Central Highway, Ruanpur Highway, all these projects are very important for us to make Sri Lanka a viable option for tourism. So, and also, you will ask, why Port City? The Port City is going to be the financial hub, one of the financial hubs of the world. But China has found they can't have a financial hub in Hong Kong because those people are fighting. So they have found the ideal is to have a financial hub in Colombo, because Sri Lankans are intelligent people and they can be used. They are good in English. Their English is good. They can learn anything. So if we have a financial hub in Colombo, we can use a lot of Sri Lankans, because it's unlikely that the Chinese will speak good English to deal with the world. So it's far better if we use Sri Lankans and deal with the world. And that's why Chinese came and spent so much money to build a port city. So it's up to us to learn good English take examinations on various other streams and be ready for this development that is going to take place from next year onwards for a period of 40 years. Construction of buildings, and my expectation is within 10 years we'll have one of the major financial hubs in Colombo. And that will be challenging the Singapore financial hub and many other financial hubs. Because China is going to pour money into this hub so that they can manage their African operation also from this hub. Because you know most of the countries in Africa are now part of China. But they will not try to do that to Sri Lanka because Sri Lanka has been their friend when they did not have anything to eat. In the 12th century, due to a huge drought, our people supplied them with food. And Chinese kids learn all this history. And they learn about King Parakramabahu when they learn history in their Chinese schools. So Chinese people are friendly to us, and they have been historically friendly people to us. So we should not treat Chinese with great deal of suspicion. On the other hand, we should treat Chinese with friendship so that they will also reciprocate. So that's the way we have to look at our future. And so it's up to you, up to you to, up to you to think positively, think outside the box, and get the maximum out of the opportunities that you are going to get in future. And just imagine 1992, 93, 94, 95 peak years for us, and 1996 we won the World Cup, Cricket World Cup. So we are doing so well in sports in those years. Similarly, the next few years will be boom years for Sri Lanka, and be ready for such a boom. And today's problems are the eye openers so that we will not make similar mistakes in the future. So don't think today's mistake as the end of the world. It is not the end of the world. It is the beginning of a new era, because we are going to learn lessons from our mistakes and correct them and move forward. So that's the way you have to look at it. And you can see I'm super positive. And why not? Why can't you be? I'm 58 years of age, still super positive. And most of you are much younger to me. And why can't you be super positive? That's the way you have to look at it. Have I answered your question?
Engineer Kamal, I think you are there, and there are many appreciation out of that. I think I noted one question: why that great knowledge not pass from generation to now?
No, actually, it is the Britishers who made the blunder. I mean, they made sure that we are made nobody, and they acquired all our land and made sure we are peasants. We don't have land, and that's why today you can go to Anuradhapura and meet the Grama Sevak and get a permit for 2 acres. The government has allowed that facility. So basically, you can go to any city, rural city in this country, meet Grama Sevak and tell him that you like to have 2 acres of land. Next day you will get it free of charge, or you have to pay only 100 rupees or something. That's the stamp fee. And you can get the land, and then you can start developing the land. Or if you want to hire government land, you can hire the government land for less than 10,000 rupees a year. Because government is ready to give land to you so that you can do the development. And it's a reality in this country. So if you are not sure, just contact me. I'll tell you how to get it. Because it's so easy to get government land and do developments in this country. And now nobody is restricted in doing so. Any other questions?
Professor, I'm Rohan Fernando, one council member. Yes, I think you know me very well.
I get.
Okay. Now one area I think you didn't touch was actually the Sri Lanka. Our country people didn't go with the industrial revolution that happened in 16th and 15th and 16th centuries. because the Europeans and the Japanese, no, first the Europeans, they adopted this, they went with the industrial revolution, and they had many inventions like the steam engine, and then the motor car, and later on, and motorbike, and also then later on the computers and electronics. But actually, even though we were very developed and very innovative until the 16th century, but then from that point onwards, we were more or less towards more or less inclined to agriculture rather than the industries. So the industrial revolution didn't take place in our country. So I think that is the reason. That's one of the reasons we lag behind. We fell behind in the development. So what is your opinion?
Do you know the maximum fisherman's story? There was a maximum fisherman. He used to kill one fish per day, and then he used to sell it, get a little money, and then he used to have a very nice sleep during the daytime, and he enjoyed the life. So one of the economists from Harvard University went to see him, asked, why you are doing this? Why you are sleeping during the daytime? You can easily do a lot of extra work, kill more fish, and then sell them, and you can become a millionaire. Then he asked, what are you going to do next when you become a millionaire? Then he said, I'm going to take a holiday and be like you. Then the fisherman said, I'm anyway like you. So basically, we were carbon zero land before all this industrial revolution. So what are we doing at the end of all the industrial revolution? Aren't we going for carbon zero? Yes, we are going for carbon zero. So we were carbon zero. We did not want industrial revolution we didn't want to follow industrial revolution, because even today we want to be carbon zero. And we have messed up the world by using all the petroleum and all these other things and not being carbon zero. Today we are all carbon zero. Why? I am at Moratoa, you are at your own places, and we are communicating. And we are not at one place. And thanks to COVID, we are not at one place. We are at all over the world, but still we are communicating. And isn't it wonderful? Are we carbon zero or not? Today, this lecture is carbon zero. Why? None of us came to work. We stayed where we are, and we are still listening. So that's what we want. So basically, industrial revolution, we missed it because we were under siege. We were attacked by Portuguese, we were attacked by Dutch, we were attacked by English. So we did not have time to think about a revolution. We were trying to survive. We were trying to save our land from being captured. So how can you think about the industrial revolution? So that's what, anyway, industrial revolution has not brought us anything new, because people lived as carbon zero 2,500 years ago. They lived as carbon zero 2,000 years ago. They lived as carbon zero in beginning of 17th century. They lived as carbon zero. They did not live as carbon zero afterwards, and it became full of carbon. And then our carbon content in atmosphere was carbon dioxide content in atmosphere is only 280 ppm. Today it has gone up to 400. And now today we say, let's be carbon zero. So basically we are going to be as we have been 400 years ago. So if we have missed the industrial revolution, it's a mistake, because we have not achieved anything by having an industrial revolution. We have messed up with our lives. We have made our lives so busy. Today we are suffering from stress-related problems. We are suffering from, and we don't know what is our religion. Religion has become a mix of religions. Nobody knows which religion they are believing. And some people say, I don't have a religion, but we really don't know what they are doing. So it has become a real mess. And this mess became because we were greedy and we were made greedy by industrial revolution. So if we decide we are not going to be greedy, we are going to live a simple life, we are going to do things so that we be carbon zero, we can save our planet. Otherwise, we not save our planet. We might have a huge rise in sea levels, and we will have huge storm. So just always think about the story of this Mexican man who used to kill fish and make a living. So that's a good story for us to remember. Whatever we do, always we should think rationally and see whether we have to do whatever we do. Just think about it that way, and then we can see even the Iesl matters, everything we can do far better if we start thinking without biases, without prejudices. Then we can do much better, and we can make this world a much better place if we start thinking it. Have I answered your question, Rohan?
Yes,
Marshall,
it's okay.
when we meet again, I'll tell the full story, because this is not the audience to tell the full story. I can teach you what is meant by Buddhism and all the other religions, and I can give a comparison of Buddhism and other religions. If you want that kind of lecture, I can do a lecture like that. I can show you how the religions are, why all the religions are the same, and how do you, on what basis you tell all that, and then you will understand what I said today fully. Until such time, it's difficult for you to understand what I said fully, because I have told you only half the story, not the full story.
Yes,
Any other question?
I think because we were partially conquered by Portuguese and Dutch, and then later on fully conquered by the British, our potential was suppressed.
No, you are wrong. We are not conquered by British.
Yeah, not conquered, but yes, it's like
we were not conquered by.
We were not conquered, but it's like we were suppressed. Our potential was suppressed.
No. First we handed over our country to them, then they suppressed us. That's true.
Yes.
We were not suppressed by them. We handed over our country to them. Then they took it nicely, and then they suppressed us. That's what happened. If you want to know the exact history of Britishers, there are books called 64 years in Sri Lanka, 8 years in Sri Lanka, and all kinds of books written by Britishers. And you can also read the book by Robert Knox, who wrote a nice book, and all these books, English editions, are available in the Ratna bookshop, located at Arcade, Racecourse Building, old Racecourse Building. There's a big bookshop belonging to Prime Minister's Secretary. What's his name? Gamini Sendra. Mr. Gamini Sendra's bookshop is Ratna bookshop at Arcade, and you can buy all these books. Very nice books. I have read all those. I have copies of those books as well. So you read all this. Then you can get a first-hand account of what happened in Sri Lanka when Britishers came. Otherwise, we are just looking at what we can read on internet and so on. It doesn't be true or not true. But if you look at the real books written by these people without any biases, prejudices, then you can learn a lot about what happened during the time that British came to Sri Lanka. There's a very nice book called 64 Years in Sri Lanka. You can read it. Written by a person who is British person born in Sri Lanka, and he has lived 64 years in Sri Lanka before he migrated back to India. So that book is a very nice book. You can read it.
Right, sir.
So
We are now
7:30.
almost
Near
to 2 hours. Before that, I think we are planning to have many lectures in with your chairmanship. So out of that, there is very
Manjula,
important
excuse me.
presentation.
Can I
Yeah.
have Manjula, can I have 1 minute?
Yeah.
There was one engineer who has raised the hand. Now she has put down. We can give a chance to Umesh. Yeah, Umesha.
Sir, can I know whether there are any researches going on to apply those historical technologies for today's technology? So, is there a possibility we can do that?
No, actually, there are a lot of things that you can learn from the history. If you are interested, we can actually facilitate. I'm not going to say we can facilitate. Like, we can get the people, if you can find some research funding to National Research Council or National Science Foundation, if you have some little money, we can get all the correct contacts for you so that you can learn a lot from them and start digging into all these technologies. For example, you can see the organic farming channel that I'm running. You can type YouTube Iesl organic. YouTube. On Google, you can type YouTube Iesl organic, and you can visit our organic farming channel, and you can learn a lot about organic farming, and you will find that there's no need to make a big shout about chemical fertilizer, because during the time of King Parakram, we did not have chemical fertilizer. We use all the organic methods, and we used to feed a huge country like China. And today we are saying, we can't do plant crop, we can't have a good crop without chemicals. But at my home, every week I make nitrogen-rich organic fertilizer within 3 days. And all the plants that in my small land, I actually make nitrogen-rich fertilizer using mana. Mana grows everywhere around my house, so I just use mana and make a nitrogen-rich fertilizer in 3 days. And then I apply all that fertilizer to all the plants, orchids and all that, and we don't buy chemical fertilizer.
All right. Before I did the presentation today, I think we are going to have a good, very interesting and informative lecture series on medium price building. I think as the initiator and the chairman of the Civil Engineering Sectional Committee, I think it is you are the right person to brief on that, taking 2-3 minutes.
So basically, medium in Sri Lanka we give this degree license. So basically, our idea is to have a series of lectures so that anybody who wishes, who has a license up to 8 floors, can go up to 12 floors using the knowledge that they gather here, because we are going to give you assignments and all kinds of things where you have to submit assignments. If you submit all the assignments, we give you a certificate. We are in the process of getting permission from Iesl Council for issuing a certificate for those who do all the assignments. So if you are up to 8th story now, if you are up to 4th story, you can use that to go to 8th story. If you are up to 8th story, you can use that to go up to 12th story. The fact that you have attended the course and done all the assignments will help you to go up to the next level. And if you are going up, if you are up to 12 stories, it will help you to go up to 20 floors. But to go beyond 20 floors, you need an MSc.
Is it started?
No, actually, we have put a council paper to get the approval last council. That paper was not tabled. So the next council in January, it will be tabled, and I'm sure we'll get the permission for that.
But the presentation series will be done.
This will become a qualification for moving to the next level. But you have to do all the assignments. We are giving assignments, so if a person will do all the assignments, then they can use that knowledge to go to the next one.
And the first presentation will be on this Thursday from 5:15 to 7.
Yeah. So on medium price.
And Chairman, shall we invite? There are a lot of civil engineers here. We have many subcommittees in our sectional committee. I will just brief as the secretary. We have presentation subcommittee, knowledge sharing subcommittee, public event subcommittee, virtual events, then member recognition, report cards, editorial media correspondence, charity, field visit, techno. There are a lot of subcommittees under the chairmanship of Professor Jayasinghe. I think the civil engineers here, we have a lot of civil engineers. They can join with our sectional committee and work with these subcommittees for the betterment of civil engineers and the public.
Actually, Mr. Martin, we are going to have a basically under virtual committee. We are going to have a virtual events committee. We are going to have a musical evening. Is that right?
Yes. Yes.
After 15 January, we will have a musical evening. So if you are good with the music and singing, be ready. We will give you a chance.
And the
Everything
associate
highly
members, so
equipment, yeah, members, associate members, everybody can participate. If you are good in singing and all that, be ready. We'll give you a chance.
and the associate members are also invited to join with the subcommittee called PR subcommittee that is facilitate to get their charter as soon, very soon that we will be starting a special programs for them to get aware of the charter process and how it is done, and the lecture series also is planned. So many activities are being planned from the sectional committee. You can join with the any subcommittee, and you can propose another subcommittees also. Which is and we can get we have many expertise with us. So I think we can do a lot of things for our civil engineers and the public. And so almost now 8:55. Then we'll wind up, and we have enough time in future to
Actually,
discuss.
this has been recorded. Is that right, Manju?
Yes, this is
You are
already
recorded.
recorded. This is live stream in the Facebook also. We have civil section committee Facebook that is live stream. So this is recorded one. Anyone can access.
In addition that, this recording will be given to me so that I will give it to Mr. Imanta to upload it to our YouTube.
Yes.
So it will be available on the YouTube channel as well. Already we are having a YouTube channel called what do you call Advanced Computer Modeling of Tall Buildings. There is a YouTube channel called Advanced Computer Modeling of Tall Buildings. You can try that YouTube channel, Advanced Computer Modeling of Tall Buildings, having about 25 videos, and videos will be added every day, almost every day live. So you better have a look at that particular video YouTube channel as well. That YouTube channel is called Advanced Computer Modeling of Tall Buildings. And because this is about history and motivational talk, we will have this talk also as a special talk under that particular channel.
Right. Our next committee meeting, civil sectional committee meeting, will be on this Thursday from 7. It will be circulated from Iesl to our members. If anyone wishes to join with the our sectional committee, please talk to chairman or me. I am Manjula Samarasinghe, or anyone in the secretariat. It is open.
Our secretary, and he's the key person running all the affairs. He has been an Iesl council member earlier. So this year he will be assisting us as the secretary of Civil Engineering Sectional Committee. So if you have any query or any problem, just talk to him, or otherwise you can talk to me. My telephone number is not 777 311 31167. Not 777 31167. So you can talk to me. Or talk to Mr. Manjula. Manjula, you can type your telephone number so that they can.
Yes, we have subcommittee chairs also. Engineer Kamala Gunawardana. So there are many subcommittee chairs, so they also can share their contact numbers.
Manjula,
Yes, Engineer Kamala.
I think there are some questions, Professor, we can respond later, or how?
Charter design training, but you can do design training very well if you have gone through the course, because then you will know design. You can learn design through the course and then practice design in a design office. So what for charter? But without design office experience, 1 year experience, you can't get the charter. But to go to a design office, you can use this channel. Our YouTube channels learn engineering and then go to design office, then you can be very successful at the design office. Manjula, is this mentoring system is still there? So that if they can't find a design office, still they can find a mentor and do it.
Yes, institution is facilitating for that.
Yeah, so basically, if you can't find a design office, contact us. We'll find a mentor for you so that you can get your chart. If you have a lot of construction experience but no design experience, but then you can learn design from this channel, and then we can give you a mentor so that you will be able to get the chart. That we can facilitate, Manjula.
Yes.
Can't we? We can.
Yes.
We can.
With that, we'll wind up today's presentation. May I invite
Manjula, can you type my number also? Not 777
note triple five.
7
Okay.
311 167.
Note 777 311 167.
Yeah.
Meantime, I would like to invite the engineer Sapumal Rupa Singh to propose the vote of thanks.
Good evening. Good evening, sir. On behalf of the Civil Engineering Sectional Committee, I would like to take this opportunity to express our gratitude to Professor MTR Jayasinghe, our own chairman of Civil Engineering Sectional Committee, for dedicating your valuable time to educate us about the history of engineering in Sri Lanka. Actually, this is not only the history of engineering in Sri Lanka, but the history of Sri Lanka, which we should know. I think without knowing about our own history, we will not be able to progress as a nation. So it was an interesting, informative session, and I would like to thank you again on behalf of the Civil Engineering Section Committee and all the fellow members and the participants. Also, thank you, sir. Also, all the members of the Civil Engineering Section Committee for support and guidance given to organize this event. And I would like to express my gratitude to CEO and all the staff of Iesl for the technical support and publicity given for the success of this event. Finally, I would like to thank all the fellow members and non-members for participating in today's event with short notice. And I would like to invite all of you to join with our upcoming knowledge sharing sessions, which would be much interesting and informative. I also invite all civil engineers to join with IESL Civil Engineering Section Committee and share your knowledge and experience with our upcoming events. Thank you again, and we wish you to see you on this Thursday with the first presentation on medium rise, design of medium rise building. Good night, sir. Thank you very much.